Hello guys, it's Libby, otherwise known as Silverlief, and I'm back with more of my mum's journal. Today we're going to be putting together the signatures, and there's 10 in total. Let me quickly show you this one. If you haven't seen the previous videos, the idea is each will have a cover with a pocket on the inside. And then we'll have paper stacked inside, and then in the very middle will be another pocket. Usually I wouldn't put this many pocket pages in, but my mum this is from my mum, she specifically asked for places to store her music, so we're adding extra pockets. This one here I already assembled, and then there's 10 total, so there'll be 9 more to do. So you open it with the pocket page. There's a piece of tea-dyed paper, then a thicker piece that's more multimedia paper, so she can paint on it or whatever. This isn't tea-dyed paper, but it's made to look like it, with nice lines. Then I have 2 different colours for this contrast paper. It's meant for like tonal paper, that's what it's called. So the whites will show, the darks will show, and it's a mid colour. I have this and another colour, so we'll alternate between. More of that watercolour paper. I think it's more multimedia. It might be watercolour. I think it's from my big watercolour pad. Another one of those that's made to look like old paper but isn't. This is like a linen. It's got some texture to it. One more piece of the watercolour paper, mixed media paper. I wanted a lot of the mixed media paper, and it's the sturdiest paper, and it gives her the most. She can still just write on it if she wants to. She can paint on it, draw, whatever. Then another piece of the one that's faux dyed. Then bullet journaling paper, and then in the very middle is the other pocket. And I think I'm going to try and stick to a similar formula. So if you look at it, these papers are taller. I didn't realise when I made the pockets that some of the paper I had was only 8 tall instead of 8.5 like these are. What I plan on doing is keeping all of those middle pages down at the very bottom. And then we can use these sort of like tabs at the top, so you can see where the pocket pages are. Does that make sense? So if I open it inside, you can still see where those pocket pages are. So it's not a real tab. I might make them into a real tab, but if I use the method that I've seen online, it will actually make these come lower for the rest of it. And I don't think I want that. They're supposed to be protective as much as they are decorative. So I have stacks of paper already made up over here. It's a lot of paper. 10 signatures, there's 10 pieces of paper and then 2 pockets per, which is a lot. I realise now. It's going to be a chunky baby, but that's what we want. And my mum was asking to see both sides. I was trying to avoid showing it because I wasn't sure if she wanted to see it ahead of time, but she's indicated that she does want to see it. So this one says Night of Magic, and then this one's just map. I might decorate these up once it's all together. I'm going to be coptic binding it, which will allow it to lay flat, but I have a method that I've been using where I still cover it with leather at the end, and it does still lie flat, but it's got the cover. I know people like coptic, one because it will lay flat, but also they like the look of it. I have one here that I did. It's one of the very first. There's not really much contrast, but you know, it's got an open spine, and I think that works for some things, but for me personally, I would like to protect that spine. Especially this is going to be shipped from the US to the UK. I want it sturdy. But I still like the coptic because, as I say, you can really lay it flat wherever you open it. So then we've got this one, is the next one that we're going to be working on, which is a lovely forest. And then that's the inside. And then this fairy, beautiful fairy. That's going to be the middle page. So if we follow, I should have these in the right order, to be honest. See if I can get them in the right order real fast. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I set them in order so that they'll stay the same. That just makes it easier. I know it's a good distribution of the weighted paper, the more decorative papers. So I think I do want this as the cover, and then we'll have this as the inside page. So what I'm going to do is stack it, and these all need folding, so I'm just going to, and with some of my projects I will happily just fold the whole signature at once. This has a lot of different weights of paper, and for the end result to look as good as possible, I really want them all butted up as tightly as they can be in here. So I'm going to fold each one individually. I'm going to do one with you, then I'll go off camera and do the rest. So that's this one. Then we have the watercolor paper. And it doesn't really matter. There's one side of this that's textured, one side of this that's smooth. For this isn't in the middle page. It doesn't matter to me which side I'm doing it on, because either way, either the front half of the book is going to have the smooth side up, and then the back side will have it up, or vice versa. It's either way, some of it's going to be back the wrong way up. And personally, I don't care which side of a multimedia paper I'm working on. Mum might, but then she can just focus on whichever side it is. So. And I'm burnishing these really well. I want them to sit neatly inside one another. The idea is that when we're done, it'll have a minimal amount of space here. When they close, they'll all press in together. It'll just keep it neat and uniform. Okay, so done with you. This one. And I had to trim these down. I trimmed them down in advance. My big trimmer that I use for this sort of thing is off to the side this way. And it's a bit of a pain to move. It's heavy duty, so any trimming I'll do off camera unless it's small, in which case I can pull up one of my Fiskars, the little doodads. Okay, so the first one here had grey toned paper. I'm moving between two, so I have a grey toned and a beige tone. I'm going with the beige tone for this one. I'm going to alternate between, and at the very end, once I've got them all together, I'll decide the order for the actual signatures, like, because the covers are what are going to matter. I want an even distribution between the colours and the styles. That was not at all straight. Let's try that again, Lib. No, I'm half off the camera here, sorry. Still getting used to the framing of this other camera. Okay, so we have that. I also have my old microphone set up, so hopefully the sound will be better. Okay, so then we have another one of the thicker papers. And you know what I can do? I'll alternate which side I put inwards. That feels like a compromise. So I have 3 pieces. This is the only one that's repeating, and I have 3 pieces of this one in each well, I will have 3 in each signature. Again, it's the most diverse one. She can do the most with it. So, put you in there. I like these papers. My husband got me them for Christmas. They're a little bit glossy, so I've tested them out. You can still write on them, but I wouldn't use like a very wet ink, like a fountain pen or something like that. I don't think it would. It'd take a while to dry, I think. Oh, that was a horrible sound. I apologise. That's you. And I'm just stacking them back in the on the other side, so that they're staggered. What I personally ordinarily do is I would have already stacked these together before I started folding. But I wanted to show through the different ones first. So, that's you. But when I'm doing this for myself, I'll lay out however many signatures I'm doing and just place the papers one at a time. Okay, so just slide it in. Again, this doesn't really matter, but nor does the order. I like there being some sort of order to it, but it doesn't actually matter. As long as, in my opinion, as long as you have the same distribution, it's fine. You want the same weight for each of these signatures. You don't want one heavier than the other, otherwise it's going to put strain on your spine. But because I'm putting the same papers in, each one will weigh roughly the same. Can tell that it's getting warmer, not just because of the heat. There's a stink bug in my room. Loves that for me. I don't know how it got up here. I'm upstairs. All the bugs, my least favourite part of this time of year. I'd say that actually. I don't like the heat. Well, I like the heat, my body does not tolerate the heat. Okay. So we have this and then the paper. And I'm just going to quickly make sure that everything is the right side up, which it is. The only ones that have an up or a down are these middle pieces, but okay. So I'm going to tap it down, do my best to make sure that everything in there is nice and neat. I'm going to have to show you from the bottom. This is going to need a little bit of tape. It's torn here. But you see how neatly all of this is pressed in together? It still leads to a staggered end here. You see it's like a V. I'm going to message my mum and see if that's going to bother her. If it is, I'll trim it down. If not, I'll leave it. I like it. I like when I can see, you see this, all these different page edges here. I like that. But if it's going to bother her, it's her journal, not mine. So I'm just going to tap this down a little bit. And as I say, any of these that are torn, especially these outer ones, this is from where I snipped up a bit too high when I was cutting for the pockets. I couldn't find my knife. I have it now, but too little too late. Using the scissors I went up a little bit too high. So I'll tape the edge like I did with this one, with some washi tape. I'll do one of those on camera too now, and then I will do the rest off camera. So this is the washi tape that I have for this journal. I don't want it too thick, but I want it to coat. I love this one. I'm not going to use it on the edge because you're not going to see enough of it, and that's a special one. So I'm going to stick with the one that I used for the other. The colours match, so. And all I'm going to do is measure roughly the right height, so about there. And I will trim it down, so. But I don't want to fold it over because you have the pockets and stuff on the inside. Sorry, where's good for me is not good for the camera, evidently. And I'm not being precious about it. If it's not perfect, that's fine. I just want to make sure it gets this edge. So I'm going to start on the spine. If it'll stop curling in on itself. My fingers aren't very grippy today, but that's okay. I'm actually going to take this off the rest. There I don't want it to get stuck to the other papers. More or less the middle, doesn't have to be perfect. You're not going to see both sides of this at the same time once it's sewn in. So it doesn't matter. You know, one's going to be on one side of the journal and the other's going to be on the other side of the journal. So I'm going to fold it over and gently stretch it down. I don't want a huge build up here on this spine. Although, saying that, I did that, so, you know. And then I'm going to trim the very end. If you can hear my dog, I apologise. Scissors. Just grab these because I've got them to hand. And then just from the inside, I'm just going to trim it just a little bit. If there's a little bit extra, it's fine. I will fold that little bit over. I just don't want anything on this pocket. There we go. Okay. And this is important in my opinion, especially on the outer one. You're going to have the needle going through here, and the pressure's going to tug at it. Like, if there's any pressure on the spine, it's going to tug and rip. And if it already has the rip here, it's much more likely to just pull straight through, which I don't want. Okay, so let me tap these back down, because they got a little moved out of position. Okay. And then what I've been doing, and this will make it much easier when it comes time to both do the holes and then sew it in, is once it's how I want it, I'm just using little clips on the bottom. I'm doing it on the bottom because that's where the pocket is. Although with some of them, no, actually, I'm going to do it on the top. I just realised why I didn't do it on the bottom with the first. I'm not doing it on the bottom. Let me correct that. I'm doing it just above where these pockets are, because if I hold these pockets down and they're in a weird position, it's not going to fold. I remember now, I need some movement space. Let's see. Having the two pockets makes it just a little bit more difficult, but I think it works out well. So if you see from the outside here, you can see all of them, all the way down to that middle. And I say, if that bothers my mum, I'll fix it. If not, I'll leave it. Okay, so that's two. I just used the binder clips from this. I need to put the binder clips back on there. And then I'll get the others done and we'll be back. So I'm back, and this is crazy. I might have gone just a little tiny bit overboard here. I think a lot of the bulk is to do with the binder clips, but yeah, this might be a bit too big for what I'm going for. We'll see. That is gonna be a hefty journal right there. If I push it in a little bit, yeah. I'm gonna take off these binder clips real fast and we'll see just how thick it actually is, because I might need to cut down on some of these, which I don't want to do, but I will if I need to. I do have in mind one that can go, which is the alchemy one. It's the only one that doesn't really fit the same theme as the rest. But it was double-sided, so that's why I put it in. Yeah, it's better without the paper clips for sure. Binder clips, whatever. Though they're only there to obviously keep everything together. Yeah, so if I do need to get rid of one, this one will be the first to go. Just because as much as I love it, and I think it is very much my mum, I think it doesn't necessarily match as much with the rest. But if I'm going to get rid of one, I'm going to get rid of two to keep it an even number of signatures. So let's have a quick look. You know, I should have anticipated this, given that not including the pocket pages, there's 100 pages here, and then if you fold that, that's 200 pages, 400 sides, and again, this is not including the pocket pages, so hefty. It's hefty, but I'm not opposed to it. Okay. Oh, that's gonna be a chunky monkey. And that's without anything added in. Okay. Is that going to be too much? Do I need to get rid of 2? We'll see how it's going to look if I do. So I want to keep... If we get rid of you, that takes it down to 9. And then... Let's see. Is there another one that doesn't really fit? I think colour-wise, it's this one. But I love that little fairy hiding in the middle. I suppose I could take or leave this one. So, let's have a look. Does that make a big difference? I think that does make a difference. I think that's a more manageable book. So I think we're going to go with the 8. And I might just turn these into 2 mini journals. You know, just a signature each. Okay. Hopefully Mum won't be upset by that choice. So there's the base of the book. Then I have 1 chipboard. And I made these the exact same... I tried to make them the exact same width, and they're a little bit taller. And the idea is to center these in there. This. I like this to be flush. I'll probably end up, once I have this bound, I'll end up planing this down a little bit with some sandpaper. But because if you look at it from this edge, you can kind of see a little bit of overhang. I think though the leather might cover that. So as a reminder, this is the leather that we're going to be using. But we need to bind everything first. This comes after everything's already together. So what I need to do now is make a template. And I'm going to start with one of these. And I'm going to template down the edge. I'm going to leave a decent amount of space on the top and the bottom. Just because, as I say, it's a little taller. So... might leave like 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch on the top and the bottom before I start doing the holes. I say we're doing Coptic binding for this, so I'm gonna have use this guy because I can butt it up against. So this is 8 3/4 tall. So if we're getting, so we're going to say 8 1/4 in terms of, oh, hello. Do it this way, my bad. Yeah, so 8 and just under 8 3/4. So I'm going to try and center this to where, I just want an even amount of space between, I think that on either end, I mean, of the ruler. I know what I'm talking about. Sorry, my brain is a tiny little bit fried. So then I'm gonna take just a Sharpie that I have, because you're not gonna see this when it's finished. So then I'm gonna go every inch mark first, and we'll see how that looks. So like this, and I think that'll be enough. Usually I don't do this many, but when it comes to my Coptic stitch, especially for this kind of book, I want a lot. I don't want a lot of wiggly movement for it, so the more points that is being sewn onto, the more rigid it'll be in the end. So I'm going to link these two together. And this is just so I get them in the exact same place. I'm going to see if I can punch through both at once. And I don't want to go too far in, but I don't want it so close to the edge that it'll tear off. So And even though this is going to come inwards, it's not going to affect, like, this isn't going to end up down here. Because the way that you pull it, it still ends up at the edge. So, I'm going to use the smaller hole. Is it going to fit? It is going to fit. And this is set to like 1/2 inch. I'm going to move it to 1 centimeter. And then I'm going to line it up until I see the black through the... Oh, 1 centimeter is not enough. Okay, let's take it to... What, you, 1 inch? 1 inch might be a bit much. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's way too much. So I need somewhere between the two. Yeah. Let's go back to 1/2 inch. It's probably there for a reason. Okay. Yeah, 1/2 inch looks about right. I am going to quickly extend some of these lines. Just so I can see them. I apologize. There we go. So we're gonna extend these out, and what I'm doing is I'm butting the edge of the ruler up against the edge of the bookboard. That way I know it's straight. I have a set square somewhere, but it's a big heavy duty carpenter's one. And I don't want to grab it right now. Okay. And this is just so that I can see it through the hole. The way that it was, I would not have been able to see it. There we go. Tiny bit lip. It doesn't actually matter for this if these are perfect on here, as long as every other thing that I do with it, like following it, is the same as this, if that makes sense. The nice thing is, because these have the covers on, they have a direction built in, so I can't do the upwards wrong on that. So what I'm actually going to do on here is up and then turn it over, also up. That's important so you know. If there's any inconsistencies in here, at least all the inconsistencies will be equal, like across all of the items, if that makes sense. Okay. Now you could do this with better, like more measuring than I did. I'm just keeping it simple. I tend to get confused when I go too hard with the measuring, which I know probably sounds strange because shouldn't it be better? And if I'm using a cutting board or something, sure, but for punching holes like this, no. All that matters is that you keep it consistent across the whole project. You're not going to see it. It's not like a traditional Coptic stitch where you can see it on the spine, because my spine's going to be covered. Last one. Okay. Move those little pieces away. So now we have our guides, and I need to transfer that onto these. So what I'm going to just quickly do is, this would probably make more sense. I'm going to put these onto the side of this. Oh. If I could stop putting it on my paw. I just keep getting it on here. It should come off, it's metal. I don't think Sharpie sticks to metal. I could be wrong. But yeah, all I'm doing here is just adding it to the edge. Like this. just to make it a little bit easier for me to see. So which way is up? This way. That way? Yeah. Okay. I need to sort of center this, and the problem now is I don't have anything big enough to clamp this with, unless I pull out my book binding press, my book press. I'm just trying to see if I can make it just a little bit more even on each side. You know what would be easier, Libby? Hold on a second. To get a piece of paper that's the right height. You're not the right height. You're the right height for the pages inside. What? Well, here. I'm sorry. I'm sacrificing this one. That's the same height as these. Me jot it onto here, and then I don't have to mess around with this. I can straighten it up on there. I know what I'm doing. It's just... Yep. Okay. Sorry. I've never done it with this many, and usually everything is completely flush. But because the way I've done this, it's not flush. Okay. So I've clamped it down. It's got about the same amount top and bottom. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to just poke my little holes on here with my pen. I swear there is a method to this here madness, but I will be the first to admit it's a little bit mad. Let's see if I can get this lined up. Is this gonna work? Am I doing this right? You know what I should just do? I'm making this way more complicated than it needs to be, by the way. I'm pretty sure I did this the wrong way around. Let's try that again, Libby. I haven't done it this way before, but I think this should work. So, bear with me a second. Ignore everything else I just did. Putting it on the inside, I'm going to poke my holes through here. Let me move this just a tiny bit away from the edge. Okay. So, if I can find my pokey tool. Where did I put you? Here. I'm going to go in. I need to pull this just the tiniest bit away. Not that much. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I know what I'm doing. Promise. It might not seem like it right now. Okay. Let's try and... I want to line this up with... There we go. More or less where I want it. Just a tiny bit removed from the edge of the spine. That way I can actually punch it into the spine. Okay, that's better. And then I'm just going to punch each point. So I'm going to line that up and punch. And then I'm going to rest this inside the others to punch their holes. And this is why I didn't glue these down, because now I can move this out of the way. And I can do that with the others too. Alright. Sorry, that took a minute. My brain's not in full focus mode right now. It's late into the day. Well, it's actually nighttime. So my brain's a little tired. Okay. So we're going to make sure that this is all tapped down nice and neat, how we want it. And that everything is pushed in. And I'm going to rest this guy in the middle. And then I'm going to punch through the holes that I just punched. Which you can't see, but I can. So I'm going through all of those layers. So it might take a bit of brute force. Because there's a lot of layers there. Sorry. If I'm moving it out of view, it's because these holes are dark. So trying to see it for myself is a little difficult. Let's see. Oh, I just moved everything out of alignment there. Go. View. And move. That got moved out of alignment. Damn it, Libby. This is why we had things clamped down. And then one more here. If I was doing it just for myself, that'd be so much easier, because just make sure that is fine. Yes. Because I can just lift it up to my eyes to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, punch the holes for all of these other ones, and I'll be right back, and then we'll figure out an order. Okay, so I have them all, if you can see, they've all been punched. I have them in an order. It sort of like rotates between the 4 styles. Let's see. Oh, there's that one. Now it's time for the fun part, which is actually sewing it in. I have some black waxed linen thread, which is perfect. It's good for bookbinding. People use it for leather working too. I like it for my bookbinding. And we have 8 books. I'm going to do 9 lengths. I always do more, to be honest. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm being generous with my lengths. 6, 7, 8, 9. If I end up having too little, which I doubt, but if I do, I can just tie on some more. And then I like to use a rounded needle. A curved needle even. And I don't want the biggest one. I like it when they're a little bit smaller. She says that, but... oh, there it is. That's the one I'm wanting. So then I'm just going to quickly thread my needle. And I don't want to double it up. Just going to single it, and then I'm going to put a decent knot on the end. I don't want the knot to pull through. And if it's a small, thin knot, it will. So I doubled it up. That should be enough, especially because we have all the extra washi tape and stuff. I'm going to go from the top. So first one, we start on the inside at the very top. So it's going to come out. We're going to pull through this entire length. You can work with smaller lengths. It just means tying on more of them. Okay. So that's in there. It looks like it's trying to come through. So if I'm going to pull it back. I'm going to add just one extra knot just to secure it. This will be the only real knot so it should be fine. And that did not knot on top of the other, so 1 second please. Okay, that might be a bit much now, but there we go. I do not want that pulling through. If it pulls through, it's going to cause problems. Okay, so we've got this, and then we've got our front cover, which we're going to pop on top. We're going to bring the needle from the first over the top of the book board. And if you were to do this just as a regular Coptic stitch, you'd want this covered already, and then you'd put your holes in, but we're going to cover it after. So through there, and then back into that hole, the same hole that we just came out of. Move that a little bit. And every time you're doing this, you're trying to avoid putting the needle through your previous thread, otherwise you can't pull it tight. It'll cross the thread, split the thread even, and then you're pulling against the thread and not. And not the air, I guess. Okay, so then I'm going to tighten this up because I have the knot here. Oh, sorry, you can't see. I have the knot here. Yep. This is going to be difficult to show. I can already tell because I want to be up close, and up close is not under the camera. So, okay, nice and tight. And as I say, this will sit up against the edge here. So it won't be hanging out, if that makes sense. Okay, you want it tight, but you don't want it to tear. I've tried to do it too tight before and actually torn the chipboard. Don't do that. You can repair it, but yeah, you don't need to be doing it that tight. So we're going through the next hole. So if I can. There's so many layers to this. Maybe I would have been better off with a straight needle, but that's fine. Okay. So out. And again, we're going to loop through this book cover. And we want to, at this stage, we really want things to be lining up, because the rest of the book is going to be built off this foundation. And if you start out with it all out of whack, then the whole book's going to just be, well, out of whack, I guess. Okay, so like this, and then we're going to go back in. And that is the process all the way across for this row. So, oh, I can feel it on the inside. Pull it through. Sorry. It's really hard to film this. I don't know how people film it. And I'm going to try and tighten as I go. I do not want loose on the inside. I don't want that loose at all. So as best as you can, tighten it. Okay. Then down to the next hole. If I wasn't filming this, I'd be going a lot faster. But I'm trying to. I've got a monitor to my side. I'm trying to make sure that I'm on screen, I guess. So through here, and it's nice and repetitive, especially when you get to the next part where you're adding the signatures on. Very repetitive. It's very similar to the first video I put up of doing the case bound book. The way that I bound the book, the signatures together is very similar to this. It's my favourite way of doing it. It makes for very sturdy books. So pull this through and then out through the next one. And pretty much we're just going to repeat that all the way down. I do not know if you want to see it all, or if you just want to see a part of it, but At least for this first one, I'll do it all, and for the next, for adding on the next signature. But after that, I might do the rest off camera until we get to the last row. So the first, and then the last, and then the middle, all three of those are different. But the middle lot is all the same, like together. Okay, so round, back in. And again, we're being very careful not to poke through the previous thread. Otherwise you will have a very hard time tightening it. I just said we're not poking through the thread, Libby. Then down and through. And this is why we left these unglued. Because if they'd been glued down, you'd be trying to faff around them. Okay. As you can see, it's getting much sturdier now. At the first part, I could move this all the way up. It's getting much more locked in. Which is what we want. And back in. Go. When you get the hang of this sort of thing, it really becomes second nature. You can shut off your brain. I'm not shutting off my brain right now, solely because I'm trying to think about what I'm doing so I can say what I'm doing, if that makes sense. So here, back in. Okay, and I'm checking as I'm going that it's staying aligned and that it's tightening here on the spines. I did one once where I hadn't actually fully tightened one of them, and I ended up having to go back through and adding in some extra knots in weird places. It wasn't fun. Not my finest work. Nope, we don't want it splitting. It wants to split through. 1 second. This one's giving me a bit of a headache. There we go. I can feel the difference. There's a lot of resistance when you put it through the thread. And again, then you can't tighten it, so tighten that, and then I think this is the last hole. Yep. Oh, I just got it tangled. Okay. Open around that. And I'm going to pull it tight. But again, you don't want it so tight that you're ripping anything. Just enough that it brings it all up to that edge. Okay. And now you can see the pages aren't coming out, which you might think they would because you've got this space here, but it's latching on nicely. Okay, so that's the first one. Now I'm going to take my second one and we're going to start from the bottom because that's where this is. Okay. I'm going to turn it sideways like this. I find that easier. So we're going straight into the next one. Oh, hello. I haven't done this with the pockets before. It's hard to get them in. 1 second. Hello. There we go. There we go. Once we're out of the pockets, it'll be easier. But it's just an extra obstacle. Alright, set you up on here. So then we're going to go through the next hole. This. Pull, pull, pull. Try not to tangle yourself on the way in. Okay. Oh, I know what's going on here. 1 second. I have the legs out on these instead of having them back. Yep. So it was making it so that I couldn't stand it up like this, which I need to do. Okay, so tighten that. Then we're going to go under the previous. So you see this line here? We're going to go under it. Like between the cover and the signature. I think I was supposed to do that on there, but it's fine. It will still all be fine in the end. Okay, and then back in. And that's all we're going to do. Pretty much the entire way now. Is loop it through the previous signature. Well, between the previous signatures. So I'll show you again in just a second. So we're going to go through here. Now if I was doing this as an open spine, I might have picked a colour rather than just black thread. That way you can get it to show up on the spine. So between those signatures and under the thread. Okay. And then back in. Come on. You coming through? No. Why are you struggling here? There we are. Sorry, it is genuinely really difficult to film this. My hat's off to people that manage it, because there's so many things in the way. Okay, fold you up. Make it nice and taut. Then through here. Under the previous. And this is how we're going to do it. So when the next one is attached, you won't be going under this one, you'll be going under the next one. Does that make sense? And then back in. And that's how you're going to do it all the way along. If I can get you in, that would be great. Come on. There we go. Oh, I'm struggling with that. Some of them, I think they got just a little bit misaligned when it comes to the actual papers underneath. I think that's why I'm struggling to get them in. But it's okay. It's working. It's just taking a second. As I say, once I've done this one, I'll pause until I get to the last one. So then back in. And if you're using a more contrasting thread, you can actually see the pattern starting to form. They look like hoops, like links. Okay, so that's that. And I'm just seeing the time, and we're almost an hour in already. So I'm gonna quickly just get the rest of this done, and then I'll be back for that final signature. And by then I should have a shorter thread. It should be faster to get everything done. So I'll be right back. Just something quick to point out, and I forgot to do it at the start. When you come through here, you don't just go straight into the next. You still loop the previous, under the previous signature, and then you put it into the next. That's all. I'll be back. Okay, so I have one signature left to do and not enough thread. So what I'm going to do is, I'm at the very end of this one, I'm going to put it back inside rather than putting it into the next. I'm going to tie off a knot on the inside. And I'm just going to go under the previous thread. Sorry, I cut my finger and I'm trying not to bleed all over the journal. And then loop it through. And go against the grain. And then do the same thing again. Under. Through. Pull against. Okay. Just gonna snip that. Ow. Okay, so this is how it's looking. I have one more left to do. Well, one more left to add. But we need a little bit extra. Well, one more plus the cover. So I did 3 lengths. This is why I always do way more than I need. But come on. Sorry, I'm off screen trying to thread this. There we go. Okay. So then I'm going to tie off a knot on the back again. I mean at the end again. And then open up, put it back through that last hole. Gently make sure that it's not going to tug out. Okay. Then get the last signature. I messed up somewhere and forgot to put this signature in, so this is going at the end. It's okay. Doesn't make a big difference. I was just trying to distribute a bit better, but it's the only thing that's out of place. So then, let me try and remember. It's been a second. We're going to go through all the way again. The one thing I don't remember here is for ending it, and I refuse to watch a video on it. Apparently my brain says, no, we can figure it out. Is if I was supposed to add the cover on at this point too. Which I might have. If so, then I'm just going to have to add an extra bit on the end here. Yeah, because it was supposed to be on here too. My bad. So I'm looping it through there. Under here. Come on. Under here and back through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and loop this on real fast. I don't quite remember how I'm supposed to do that. I haven't watched a tutorial on this in the longest time. I'm going off of memory. I've done a lot of these, it's just I always do this part differently every time, I swear. Come on. Oh, it would help if I was on the middle of the page, wouldn't it? That's probably why it wasn't going through. Hello? 1 second, let me pull this off. So much easier when I can actually see what I'm doing. So much easier, she says, but it's still not working. What is going on here? I feel like something is in the way. Oh, I see. It's getting caught. It's getting caught on the pockets. I just moved them out of the way. Okay. Pull that tight. Poke you back through. There we are. Come on. I'm going to bring it back up to the top here. So I can grab this guy. That's why this is not a tutorial and this is just a craft along with me. Because, yep, clearly I've forgotten how to do some of this. Come on, hands, work. Okay. Through. Here. Under this one. And then back inside. Okay. If anybody who's smarter at me than this, than me, oh my gosh, words, hard. I'm struggling now. It's because I'm back on camera. When I tell you I did the rest of it without problem, I mean it. Yeah, if anyone wants to tell me how I'm actually supposed to have done that, feel free. Sorry, I'm just pulling it tight. Okay. Then I'm going up through the next hole that we haven't been through. And we're just carrying on like we did with the rest of it. So, loop under you. So we're hooking you up. And then under the previous. See that? Then back through. Oh, hello. What happened there? It went between the pages. Nope, that's still between the pages. There we go. Alright. Out through the next. I'm sorry, my hands have decided that they're completely done right now. It is late. I've been doing this for quite a while today. Under you. We're not going to finish the cover today. We're just going to focus on sewing this, and then in the next process video I will focus on covering it. It won't take long to cover it, but I'm already way over an hour. Okay. Alright. So I'm going to just finish this off real fast. I say, we're just doing the same thing all the way up. And then I'll be back to finish up. Okay. So I'm done. I'm not sure what happened here. Oh, I do actually know what happened here. Haha. It's because this end has the extra padded of the pockets, so it's gotten thinner here. It's warping on the, if you can see that. It's warping these a little bit. It's fine. You won't notice it once everything's covered. I'm just tying off by cycling it under one of the previous not knots. Signatures. I'm tying it up on the outside. It's fine. You won't see the knot. So this, and I'm just going to do one extra, but I'm going down on the signatures. Oh, try that again. Just so that the knot isn't in the same spot. Okay. So this is the text block. It's hefty. I can't believe I thought I was going to have 10 signatures in this. Who do I think I am? Yes, so as you can see, it's all nicely done. You can open it to a random page, it'll lay flat. And even once we have it covered, it should still do this. Now the big issue is going to be keeping it closed. So what I'm going to do is tonight I'm going to put this in a book press to just try and get it to want to naturally stay closed. Because right now it's a gator mouth and there's nothing in it. That's because this side is tighter than this side, so it's like pushing up. It's fine. It'll work. Yeah, I'm very happy with it though. I think it's going to look amazing. It already looks cool. And, you know, we're just getting started, really. Look at that. Beautiful. So I'll be back next time. And we'll get this thing covered in leather. Have a great night and thank you very much for watching.